Welcome, my name is Dr. Dean and I am here with...
Vinzel. Welcome back, guys.
Today we're going to talk about the COREX System athletic training program that we offer here on campus. And so we decided we were going to use the board. Hopefully you'll be able to see what we're doing. And then we have a different way of approaching our athletic training and athleticism. So the idea here is that, yes, athletes have a certain set of skills. They have their original conditioning, you know, that entry-level conditioning, which is usually...
That's the beginner, the novice level.
Right.
So you're just coming into like Pop Warner for football, like rec league, and other things of that nature for kids or individuals, teenagers getting into a sport for the first time. Yeah,
so there are some sort of canned kind of programs, right? It's like beginning to end, sort of on-ramp programs, right? And then there's good old-fashioned weightlifting, cardiovascular drills,
strength training,
right, and usually if you're an athlete, you would be looking at having a coach with, you know, team coach. And that coach would be able to steer you in the right direction as far as a progression, right? A beginning level, next level, right? With not a lot of sport specificity. So we call that kind of basic training, right? So we're gonna say like this, that's the basic entry level for athletics. And like we said, there's a lot of strength conditioning. There may be some motivational, like team building skills, things like that, right? And then what's going to happen is these athletes are going to get, you know, they're going to go to the next level, so they're going to like improve a little bit here, and they're going to start getting maybe some, let's say, so there's that basic training, and then they're going to get sports specific. Right, and so what we mean by sports specific is it may be just upper body sports specific and not necessarily volleyball at that point, right? So building that neuromuscular network, building you know, that sort of competitiveness a little bit with their teammates, like trying to get up through the ranks. Really, is what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
Work their way towards like eliteness.
Exactly. And then with that too, it's knowing what your proper motivation factors. That's also initially, you know, like winning is a big one.
Right.
So at that level, that's why I would put that at too, is like just knowing how to have a sense of competitiveness in your sport. And kind of when you're in that realm, you have to deal with you know, trying to figure out what works best for the athlete, because every athlete's not the same. So it's taking in that psychological aspect to training. So that's why I would kind of gauge it too.
And then you make an important point, because not all coaches are going to allow enough bandwidth for that one athlete, right? So basically we're going to break it down into three categories: the basic training, the sports specific training, and then we're going to have this like number 3, but we're not going to talk about this. We're going to leave that blank. It's just going to be a placeholder so we can make our point. Okay, so, and of course we talked about like athletes want to get better, and in some cases, you know, I'm going to change colors, they're actually looking for sort of that elite status, right? So they're working up to this elite status. So what makes that happen? Does that happen for basic training?
No.
Would that even happen in sports specific training?
No.
Would that even happen with like psychological motivation, that sort of activation of the athlete specifically?
Not just that, no, not alone.
Right. So then we want to know, like, what's going to help an athlete become more elite in their practice. Like, so when we're talking about eliteness, we're talking about two parts. We'll say A, we're talking about their performance, and we're also talking about B, we're talking about reduced injury, right? So how do you, well, we already agree injury is not chance. There's a portion of athletic injuries that's totally preventable, right? And then we talked about this before, those three parts: athletic readiness, athletic awareness, right? So let's put that here. C, awareness, and then so Benzel and I did a video specifically about that readiness and awareness and what the difference is. Okay, so you can be a really strong player, but if you don't have readiness and awareness that's related to athleticism, you can't achieve eliteness.
Exactly.
So what we mean by awareness and readiness is that awareness is everything that's around you that is important to your performance. Where you are, let's say, on the field, where you are on the track, which lane you're in the track, right? That matters.
And how the bend is, and how much of the bend you have.
Exactly,
so
right?
That matters.
Yeah, and in some sports, let's say in tennis, the position of the sun matters. Are you serving into the sun, right? So those type of things, we could go on and on, but those type of things matter. The position played, the territory of your of your field or your court, whatever that is. So you're playing doubles or singles, right?
Exactly.
Changes. So we would say that's awareness. Everything around us, all the environmental factors, right? And then there's that readiness, which is the self, right? How do I feel today? What's my confidence level? What's my optimism? Those are like all the variables that I own personally.
Yeah.
Right? Do I feel safe, like doing a backflip and landing on a 4-inch beam?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's that readiness. And readiness does not mean how good you are of a player. It does not mean your skill sets. It means it's all the internal thinking in the place of your performance, right? And then, so we're gonna add E here. And this is by far the most important. And E is core neutral.
Neutrality. Yeah.
Core neutrality, right? Core. And then my symbol is a capital N, and then I just put a little O there, like a little degree sign. Core neutral. So, okay, what's core neutral? So if we ask, you talked about this. We go to the athletes, okay, demonstrate to me or talk to me about core neutral. And what do we get?
They're like scratching their head. Okay, what do they? And then they get low, and then they think low is core neutral.
Right.
But
that's a part of it.
Yeah. It's,
right.
But it's not extreme though. They're getting below 90 degrees, and they think that's where the athleticism is. No.
Right.
It's not. 120.
Yeah. Magic 120, 120, 120. We talk about all the time. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to fill in some blanks here so you can understand the programming that we create for an athlete. So we got to call, we talked about even this before, so we got to call for a wide receiver.
Yep.
So it's the dad called, his son wants to, he's kind of in a holding pattern, kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to get a little bit better because, when the scouts come, they're looking for that edge, right? And eliteness can be that edge, right? So that edge can be perceived confidence, right? Which is a bit of that readiness, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put you in time and place you sort of in the realm here of like, so I need to draw an arrow actually from the bottom here. So we're talking about basic entry level. We're not talking about somebody who has no skills. We're talking about somebody who has a little bit of an athletic background, definitely has athletic interest, wants to participate, they want to compete, they kind of want to, feel good and do well, right? So that's that basic entry level. We talked about basic training. We talk about some sports specific training. And this is the realm right here of the coach. So I'm gonna put a box around this. So this is the world of coaching. Now, what we do is parallel and as equally important to coaching is having that
clinical eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Clinical eye, right? So what we mean is that we're looking for
those faulty movement patterns.
Right.
We're looking for things that can turn into a mechanopathology.
Say it again.
So we're looking for those things that can turn into a mechanopathology, which is basically a summation of faulty movements that cause an injury.
And that haven't been identified.
Exactly.
Right? So coaches aren't looking for that. Coaches are getting the, making sure that athletes do the program, hitting the drills, making sure that they finish, make sure that they're getting their recovery, make sure they understand the mission of the team, right? I mean, it's endless. Coaching is coaching. Everything about coaching matters, right? But what's missing is sort of this parallel, this sort of relationship with the clinical part of being an athlete.
Yeah.
Which is being able to look for and identify faulty movement patterns.
Exactly.
And so that's what we're promoting is that teamwork, even with coaching, right?
Yeah.
Side by side, that having us be colleagues with the same, like in the community of athleticism, but improving the potential for eliteness.
Exactly.
So when we look at the box here, and I'm just gonna put on here coaching because we talked about it. So, right, so this is the value of the coach, is those basic drills, the sports specific drills, but then we put a place card here for something that's missing. And that's where we come in. This is where the CoreX system theory and mantra really develops, I wanna say like, kind of a speedier way, more efficient way of getting to that elite level, but also with reduced injury.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter how great of a player you are, if you're injured,
you can't play.
And you can't even train.
You're on the bench.
Right, you're on the bench. So what we want to do is we want to fill this in so that we can get up to this eliteness, right? So when we talk about eliteness, we were talking about that self identity with excellence, and also maybe turning that into a career, right?
Yeah.
So, not just the notoriety of eliteness, but being able to potentially, monetize that.
And then too, speaking on the coaching aspect, speaking on the coaching aspect, there is something that CoreX is super beneficial for, and that's being able to, because it's everybody can hire a coach. You can hire a coach, and if they're good, they'll teach you kind of similar things if they're good. The difference between us and just traditional coaching is we are outside the box. It's not a cookie cutter approach. We come with a specific implementation of a training strategy that helps get the athlete from that stuck point where they're between eliteness and just being okay or being good.
Yeah.
That's where I when you wrote that, I was like, okay, light bulb moment. Yeah, that's exactly what we're here for.
Yeah, and Venzel's right. So, and you made again, of course, a couple of important points that I forgot to make. So what I'm just going to stay with the orange because that's our that's sort of our color. Although we have an orange chair today. So what I want to do is I want to fill in a really critical piece, and that is this box down here. Right. So before even basic entry, we have to have these three things, right?
Yep.
We have to have awareness, readiness, and core neutral, right? So this is the foundation of athletics.
Yeah.
Okay, the foundation. Now, They may not learn that or know that or have that before they start being an athlete or start training. But if we can work awareness, readiness, and core neutrality into the coaching box, we fill that in here as number 3, right? We talked about that, sort of that co-training, right? There's the coaching, and then there's the clinical aspect, that clinical eye, the clinical reasoning, right? So we insert this into the coaching module. Now we're looking at the ability to reach eliteness, right? So what I'm going to say is, in the attempt to become more elite, right? If awareness, readiness, and core neutrality is missing, the whole foundation of training drops to the bottom. All of this drops, and the space to get to eliteness
becomes greater,
opens, right?
Yeah.
So if our goal is performance and injury, the relationship is, if we take C plus D plus E, awareness, readiness, and core neutrality, right? And we train that, its relationship to injury, right? When these go up,
injury goes down.
Inverse relationship, injury goes down. But that's not true of basic training and sport-specific training.
Yeah.
The relationship,
training goes up, risk of injury goes up.
Exactly. Yeah. So say that again.
When training in the basic model, you know, that cookie cutter approach, when you train, the risk of injury goes up as well.
Training volume
specifically, right. Yes.
So what we're looking at is looking at this basic model of coaching and supporting coaching with this whole other concept, right? To get more athletes. So we're not just talking about the rare athlete. What about taking an entire team and elevating the whole team?
Exactly.
Right? By building in awareness, readiness, and core neutrality. And what we mean by core neutrality isn't just being in core neutral, but it's the ability to impart the core neutrality concepts, the inner and the outer unit, proximal to distal, sequencing, sport specificity, all of that, right? All of those, the 5 principles, embedding all the 5 principles into every single move that they make. Even if it's just a cut. Yeah. Even if it's just an overhead, right? Volleyball, even if it's just a serve, even if it's a dive. I mean, pick your, or hurdle, right? You talk about, I love this, he talks about the space between the hurdles being this amazing metaphor for clearing your mind while you're
hurdling. Yeah.
Wow.
It's and the crazy part about this is the fact that a coach want the best thing that one of my coaches ever told me when I was playing sports was the fact that the greatest thing that you can offer to your team is availability. So if you have your awareness and your readiness and your core neutrality focused and implemented into your program, more likely than not, you're going to be available. If you're not called and you're not in that starting lineup, because you're implementing this, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Because you're cued in. You know what to look for. You know the difference.
Exactly.
That's that giving you a clinical eye as well. Because it teaches you, once you do it and you realize what you need to do for yourself, you can see it in others. You can identify faulty movement pattern with other individuals as well. So it teaches you to have a clinical eye as well.
And then to his point, it also teaches the athletes to critically appraise each other.
Exactly.
Because they can see it They know it so well because they feel it in themselves. Now the whole team is bringing together the CoreX system, 5 principles, that core neutrality into their performance day after day after day after, you know, until they get to walk home with the trophy, right? Yeah. So I hope that was helpful. We believe in the value so much, and I've seen it so much in my life, just even being able to take an injured athlete and kind of get them back in playing a little quicker. Just because of the readiness, awareness, and core neutrality experience for them, right? And so, do you have any closing statements you want to make?
Yeah, and then the beauty about CoreX is that same day approach. If you are suffering from an injury or something like that, making sure that we get you active as soon as possible.
Right.
So if you had a surgery and you're post-op and you're rehabbing, okay, with that rehab, we want you to train like you're doing your sport. Obviously, we have parameters where we work around, but yeah, we want you to get back to your field of play as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's kind of our big thing.
Yeah.
As quickly as possible. Thank you for joining us. Please email us with any questions or comments. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Dean.
Denzel here.